Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlil fala hadiya lah wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa nashhadu anna sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa baraka wa sallama tasliman kathiran kathira. Amma ba'd. Faqad qala Allah ta'ala fil Qur'anil Majid, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Wa amma man khafa maqama rabbih wa nahan nafsa 'anil hawa fa innal jannata hiyal ma'wa. Sadaqallah. Respected brothers and sisters, from amongst the pious souls that existed before us, from amongst the ulama, from amongst the mashayikh that existed in the past times, there was one person by the name of Haatam Assam, rahmatullah alayhi. Haatam Assam was a very devoted servant of Allah Azza wa Jal, holding on to the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam with due diligence. And it is in the lives of these ulama and these mashayikh that we contemplate and we ponder and we reflect, so that we could better ourselves and we could make our lives, we could turn out our lives into something, we could become obedient servants of Allah Azza wa Jal, that we may also lead lives that is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. My dear brothers and sisters, Haatam Assam was sitting with his sheikh one day, Sheikh Shakheekh Balkhi, and his sheikh asked him, he said, "Oh Haatam, you have been in my company for many years. How long have you been in my company?" Haatam replied, "I have been in your company for 33 years. 33 years he is in the company of his sheikh. Why is he in the company of his sheikh for that period of time? My dear brothers and sisters, he wanted to learn what is the reality of life. He wanted to learn, how do we achieve success in life? How do we gain proximity and closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal? How do we achieve this? Do we understand what it is he wants to learn? This is not a 4 months or a 1 year Jamaat that he is going in, my dear brothers. This is not a part-time course that he is doing on weekends. This is not a 8-year alim program that when you finish you get a certificate and you're done. My dear brothers and sisters, it is more than that. It is learning and implementing what he is learning, and that is why he is that period of time by his sheikh. 33 years. And his sheikh asked him, he said, "Oh Haatam, in this 33 years that you are in my company, what have you learned? What have you learned in this 33 years? So he replied, "Oh my sheikh, I learned 8 lessons in this 33 years. His sheikh replied, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." 33 years you are with me and you learn 8 lessons? That is all? 33 years? 8 lessons, that is all you learned? My dear brothers and sisters, 8 lessons to us might seem as though it is something very insignificant. But as we go along, you would understand, it is not only learning 8 lessons, but ensuring that these lessons that he learned has sunk into the depths of his heart. Not only did he learn it verbally, that I could say it out, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We could say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. What have we said? What have we learned? What have we understood by that? The significance of La ilaha illallah, is it embedded in our hearts? When we say Muhammadur Rasulullah, do we know what we are saying? My dear brothers and sisters, as we go along, we will deal with these. But these are very long topics. These 8 lessons that Haatam Assam learned are very detailed and very, very long. And I know the time for khutbah doesn't really give us the time to do, but we will try. We will try to cover some of them, inshallah. But first, before we begin, let us understand who is Haatam Assam, rahmatullah alayhi. Because when we don't know who the individuals are, then not much significance is paid to the lesson or paid to the lesson that we learned. That is why before any teacher starts a book, Islamically I'm speaking about, before you begin to teach a kitab, before you begin to teach a book in Darul Ulum, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to speak not only about the book or the significance of the book, but the significance of the author. Who was the author? Who wrote the book? Under what conditions he wrote the book? What was his background? Where did he get his knowledge from? You speak about the author. So let us try to understand a little bit. Who is Haatam Assam? 33 years he spent by his sheikh and only learned 8 lessons. Who is this Haatam Assam? My dear brothers and sisters, Haatam Assam, in his later life, after spending time with his sheikh, and his later life, when he became a sheikh himself. He had many disciples following him. And one day during his travel, and he was on his way to Mecca, he was a non-Arab. On his way to Mecca, he was proceeding, going along to Mecca. He was traveling with a group of disciples, a group of people following him along in order to learn from him. And they stopped by a village, and there were people with little means. They didn't have much. So a businessman was here. He says, no problem, you all could come and have dinner home by me, and you could spend the night by me. It's not a problem. So they spent the night by the host's home. Next morning, the businessman said that there is an alim who is the qadi of the village who is very ill, and he was going to visit him. So he asked the sheikh if he would want to come along and, you know, make dua for him and all of that. As is customary, we do these things. So the sheikh replied, certainly, because he knew of the blessings of one going to visit an alim. And that is why when Jamaats come to your locality, you would realize, you would find out who are the scholars, who are the alims, and they would go and meet them firstly. Because they are the people of authority in their area. Who are the main people in this village? One, there is a lot of blessings involved in going to meet an alim. And there is a lot of virtues and reward in store for when you go and visit the sick, which we don't know about because it is one of the things that we lack today, to go and visit the sick. We feel that it is a burden upon us. Boy, you go and sit down there, what we got to do and all that kind of thing. But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when you leave to go and visit a sick, that you are treading, you are walking in the gardens of Jannah. On your way going and on your way coming back, you are walking in the gardens of Jannah until you return back home. Could we understand that? That you are walking, could you imagine the blessing that is involved in just going to visit the sick? But we don't have chance to go to the hospital. Sometimes our own relatives are ill and we can't go to meet them. Sometimes our neighbors, sometimes our own parents are ill and we can't find the time to go and see them. Right? So going to visit the sick, going to visit an alim, Haatam rahmatullah alayhi knew of the blessings. So he decided, he said, yes, certainly I would go along with you. So the businessman and Haatam left and they went to visit the sheikh, who was the qadi of the area, the judge of the area. The name of the sheikh was Muhammad ibn Muqatil rahmatullah alayhi. When they approached, Haatam Assam was very amazed at the size of the dwelling house that he was seeing. He was amazed at the size of the house that he was seeing. So they sought permission, they entered, and when they entered, he couldn't help but notice the luxuries that he was seeing inside the house. Everything in place, neat, well decorated, curtains, servants all around. So they went into the sheikh's room. They gave salams. And Haatam couldn't help but thinking about himself, Allahu Akbar. An alim, a scholar of deen, living in a house, a mansion, not a house, a mansion like this. And with all these amenities that I am seeing and luxuries that I am seeing around. So they entered into the sheikh's room. When they entered into the sheikh's room, he was even more amazed at the amount of servants that were around. He was more amazed at the quilt, the luxury of the bed, the size of the bed, the softness, the servants there to fan, and all the luxuries of life was around the qadi. So Haatam rahmatullah alayhi was gazing at all of these things, seeing all of these things, noticing all of these things. The businessman went and sat down next to the Qadi and inquired about his health, which is normal and that kind of thing. Haatam radiallahu ta'ala and kept standing next to the bed, and he was asked to sit, but he says, no, it's okay, I'm okay, I'm comfortable standing. And then when the businessman was finished speaking with the Qadi, he says that, you know, I want to ask you a question. You being a Qadi and learned and all of that, I need to ask you something. Would you give me a reply? So the person said, yes, no problem. As he said, it's very, very important. If you could sit up a little bit. So the servants helped him up and he sat down and all of that. And then Haatam Assam rahmatullah alayhi went on to ask him, he says, from where did you get your knowledge? Where did you study, in other words, as we would say? Where did you get your knowledge? So the Sheikh replied, now in those days, it wasn't knowledge, seeking knowledge was not like what we have nowadays, that you could go to a madrasa, you could go to a Darul Ulum, and the teachers are there, you go and study. No, those days were the days when you had to go and secure your knowledge from all over. So he said that, well, my knowledge came from the trustworthy ulama. The Qadi asked, he said, who transmitted this knowledge to the trustworthy ulama? He said, the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, they got their knowledge from the Sahaba. And where did the Sahaba get their knowledge from? He says, of course, the Sahaba would get their knowledge from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And how did this knowledge reach Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam? The Qadi replied, it was Jibreel Amin who brought that knowledge to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And where did Jibreel get it from? Allah Jalla Shanahu. Allah is the one who gave that knowledge to Jibreel to bring to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Haatam Assam then went on to ask him, in that knowledge that you have, that came from Allah via Jibreel to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the blessed Sahaba, to the trustworthy ulama, and then to you, in anywhere, in that source, entire body of knowledge, is there anything that Allah Azza wa Jal had mentioned about the more bigger your house is, the more luxuries you have in life, the more successful you are? Is there anything like that mentioned anywhere in that body of knowledge that you have received? So of course the Shaykh replied, no, there is no such indication about anything about the size of your house or the amount of luxuries you have. That has nothing to do with your success. Absolutely nothing to do with your success. So the Shaykh asked him, he says, well, what is mentioned? Tell me, what is mentioned about success and that kind of thing? What is really mentioned? He said it occurs in that body of knowledge, in the sight of Allah, that those persons are considered to be exalted, who abstain from the worldly things. They stay away, they shun the worldly things. They concern themselves with the hereafter. They are worried about the hereafter. They shun the worldly pleasures. They keep company with the poor and the simple people. And they spend whatever they have for the cause of Allah. And as a result of that, they treasure up all of that in the sight of Allah. They are going to be the exalted ones. They are the successful ones in the sight of Allah. So the Shaykh asked him, he said, well, whose example are you following? Who are you following? You being the Shaykh, the Qazi of the area. If you carry on in a manner like this, then what do you leave for the layman to say? He would say that that is how the ulama is. That is how the learned are behaving. Check the kind of ride they're driving around. Check their house. Check all the ornaments in their house. All the pictures and servants and all. That is how the ulama is living. Then what do you leave for the layman? It is said that after Haatam Assam left the Sheikh, right, his health wasn't too well, because nobody was accustomed in speaking to the Sheikh like that, because he being the Qazi of the area, the judge of the area, nobody had the audacity to speak to him like that. So he just carried on. But Haatam Assam was a person of that ilk who could have spoken to him like that, and he understood the message he was getting. After this visit, and remember they were on their way to Makkah to perform Hajj. After their visit, someone came to him and they told him in a village not too far away, about 80 miles away, there is another Sheikh, there is another Qadi, there is another Alim who is living in that area, right, who is even living a more luxurious life. So Haatam decided, well, let us go and visit him. So they went, it was the town of Qazwin. They went there to visit this alim. And when they reached there, they met with the sheikh. So Haatam Assam asked him, he says that, I am a non-Arab. I am not an Arabian, right? And I come from far off. I would like you to teach me a little thing from the deen. And start from the basic things, the small, simple things in deen. Teach me how to make wudu. Demonstrate it to me. How do you make wudu? Right? So the sheikh asked for some water. His disciples or whoever threw water for him. He made wudu, washed his hands, mouth, gargle, all that, say that, do all the du'as that need to be said and all of that thing. He made proper wudu, complete wudu. So Sheikh Haatam Assam told him, he says, well, let me make wudu so you could see if I'm making any errors or any mistakes and all that kind of thing. Right? So he started off to wash his hands, and he washed his hands 4 times. Washing his hands, his right hand, he washed his hands 4 times. So the sheikh stopped him. He says, no. You can't do that. Washing your hands 4 times, that is israf. That is wastage. According to the Sharia, if you have to wash your hand 3 times, that is the amount of times you wash it. You don't wash more than that. Washing more than that is considered as wastage in the Sharia. Right? 3 times is what is established. You could wash once, you could wash twice, you could wash 3 times. Right? That is what is established in the Sharia in washing the parts of the body. That is why the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not waste water. Even if you are standing on the banks of a river and water is flowing, don't waste the water. Right? The usage of water and the benefits of water, you would hear speaking of it nowadays. Why? Because the environment is changing up a bit. So you hear people saying, even the watering of your plants and washing your car, and conserve water. You're brushing your teeth, turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth. Don't just have it running. The Prophet ﷺ 1400 plus years ago told us that even if you're sitting in the banks of a river, don't waste water. So the sheikh told him, no, you can't wash 4 times. That is israf. That is wastage. So Sheikh Haatam Assam replied, he says, Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah al-Azim. Allah is pure. Allah is pure from all faults. Washing my hands 4 times constitutes israf in the Sharia. And what is all of this I'm seeing around me? What is all of this? If washing my hands 4 times instead of 3 times, using a little bit of water more constitutes israf in the Sharia, then, oh Sheikh, tell me, what is all of this I'm seeing around me? Because remember, he was living a more luxurious life than the present Sheikh. Right? So what is all of this that I am seeing around me? So we're trying to understand the person that we are speaking about. After this, Haatam Assam in his travel, he reached Baghdad. And he was living at a time when the imams were present. So he met with Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, one of the renowned 4 scholars that you would know about, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Those in different parts of the world, there are people who follow the Hanbali madhab. Right? So he met with Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, being a person who knew of the Sheikh's importance, went to visit the Sheikh. Because you see, sometimes we have to be able to differentiate. There are 2 types of knowledge that are involved here. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal could have said, well, I'm the Imam of my time and anybody want to come, let it come and visit me. But Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he had received the knowledge of Nabuwa as far as Hadith is concerned, as far as the Sharia is concerned. But the implementation of that knowledge, the understanding of that knowledge for it to enter into the depths of the heart is something with the Mashayikh, which we call the Sufis, those who would give their life for the sake of Allah. They were simple, ordinary people. You see them, they look like they're in tattered clothing. They would be fasting most of the time. They would be standing most of the nights in prayer. They were that type of people who had devoted themselves. So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal knew of the quality of the person who came. So he went to him and he asked him, he said, oh Sheikh, tell me, advise me. How can I safeguard myself from the influence of the worldly things, the things that are around us? Because we all get caught up in it. We all get caught up in it. We see this, we see that, we see the luxuries, we see the greenery of the world. We all get caught up in it. We all get caught up in the luxuries and the splendors of the world because it is around us. We are seeing it, so we learn from what we see. We are hearing it, and we hear other people speaking about it. It is entering our minds and it is entering our body. We touch it, we feel the texture of the things that are around us. They're all influencing us. It all forms an influence. That is why these organs that we have, these critical organs, are sight and hearing and taste. These are things that we have to protect, because whatever touches these organs enter the body, either through the brain, either through the stomach, through the air. It enters into our body and it creates an impact on us. Oh, Sheikh Haatam Assam, you tell me, how could I avoid the tainting of the worldly things in my life? How could I discourage myself from getting involved in these things? Sheikh Haatam Assam replied, you cannot protect yourself from the evil influences of the worldly things until you possess 4 qualities. You have to possess 4 qualities until you could safeguard yourselves, or try to safeguard yourselves from these evil influences, the evil influences of the greenery and the splendor of the worldly wealth that we're seeing around us. First quality: people who behave disrespectful towards you, people who behave ill towards you, have bad mind against you, as we would say, people who don't like you, right? Forgive them. Develop that quality to forgive them, because they might be abusing you, they might be speaking harsh to you because they are jealous of what you have, or they want to possess what you have, or maybe you are not showing them. They might be higher than you as far as wealth is concerned, and they feel that you have to come and stoop to them. They feel that you have to come and stoop to them and beg of them. Forgive them. People who behave ill towards you, forgive them. First quality, you must possess that quality. Second quality is that how they behave towards you, you don't behave like that towards them. Because yes, we could forgive them, but when you hear we get a chance, we drop it on them. And we had a quality in we. You understand? We say, yeah, I forgive you, no problem, no problem. But when you hear you hold them in a corner, you understand? You say, oh, you did do so and so. All right, you go see. Right? So second quality. 1, you forgive people who behave ill towards you, who show disrespect to you and that kind of thing. Forgive them. Second quality, you do not stoop down to that level to behave in that manner. Don't stoop down to that level. Right? After you have forgiven them, let it go. Forgive and forget. Let it go. You don't go down to that level and keep harboring that in your mind. You would be amazed, my dear brothers and sisters. You would be amazed at the length of time this human being would harbor that evil within him. Sometimes 20 years pass, 30 years pass, and then you are reminded. You can't remember? You can't remember when you were small, you did do so and so and so? Now you come to ask for this? You can't remember? And we harbor that evil inside of us. Could you imagine the rottenness that is going on inside? When you take something that is bad, you have a bunch of grapes, you have a box of apple, right? You have some oranges in a bag, and one bad, and you leave it there. You know what happens? Everything else starts to go bad. You try to take the one out, and that is what the Sheikh Haatam Assam is trying to tell him. You take that out of you. Don't leave it inside there. Why? Because it would start to cause everything else inside to go bad. If it is a little spot, remove it. Remove it so that it doesn't cause the entire body to go corrupted. Third quality, whatever you possess, as far as wealth and all of that is concerned, try to spend on other people. Nowadays we have the habit, everything that I work hard for, that, my one, you know, I could build that, I could do this, I could buy this, that's my one. Try to spend more on other people than you spend on yourself. Whatever you possess, try to spend more on other people. Now remember the question that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal asked the Sheikh? He asked him, how could I not allow the worldly treasures and things that are around me to interfere with my inside? Because that is where you're concerned about. You're not concerned too much about the outside, you know. But you see, the inside is what you're worried about, because sometimes a man might appear in tattered clothing. He might appear not well dressed, things looking bad. on the outside, but you see inside here he is rich. And you have the opposite side of the coin as well. Sometimes a man on the outside, he looking like everything up to par, everything in place. But you see the inside here, it's rotten. Right? So, and then you have the in-between. In the two limits that I just described, you have the in-between. So the third quality that Haatam Assam told to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that if you do not want the world and the effects of the world to disturb you, then the third thing that you have to make sure that you have is that whatever wealth and possessions you have, try to spend more on other people than you on yourself. Try to spend more on other people. And the fourth quality is that whatever you see other people possessing, you should not have any greed for that. Do not have any greed for what other people possess, because sometimes a man might have and he is spending, but you know what he's looking at? Say, boy, look at that man, look at that big house, that property there, boy. Look at the spread the man there. If I could get a lot to buy next to me, you understand? I'd open it out and make a nice garden. I could add in a little pool next door to me. So he have a swimming pool, and that's one of the conditions. One of the things that I have noticed. You see a business start up in a community. Then after a while you see the same type of business somebody else started. And a little while after that somebody else. Why? Because we always looking to see, well look, that man open a little parlor there and he making good. Let me start a little parlor. That man open a little hardware there and he doing good. Let me try a little thing with the hardware too. Right? We see one another. That greed inside of us to have what other people possess. Look at the car the man driving, boy. Right? Look at the house the man build. You understand? And we look and see what other people possess. And we also now are trying to aspire. We work in 2 jobs. We work in 3 jobs. We're trying to outsmart. We're trying to cheat and all that kind of thing. Right? Because we feel that that person is successful. We have seen success in those things. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was told by Sheikh Haatam Assam that if you do not want to be tainted by the world, if you do not want to be brought down by the luxuries and the splendor and the riches of the world, these are the 4 qualities that you have to try to possess. And you possess those qualities, then the world will have no effect on you. My dear brothers and sisters, in his travel again, Haatam Assam reached Madinatul Munawwara, the city of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Madinatul Munawwara, the blessed city. Nowadays, you know, there are many people who desire to go to Medina and Makkah. We desire to go for Umrah. We desire to go for Hajj. People who have been there, right, would always have that desire inside of them to want to go back and that kind of thing. People who have not been there, they don't have the means, you know, that yearning is inside of them. Haatam Assam reached Madinatul Munawwara, the city of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So people heard of him coming, and people gathered around to meet the Sheikh. And they said, he asked the people, he said, what city is this? What city is it that I have entered? The people said that this is the city of Rasul, Madinatul Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you have entered. So he says, well, you know, I would like to go to the Prophet's palace and pray 2 rakat salah. So he said, Prophet never had no palace? So he said, well, carry me to the Sahaba's palace. I want to go to one of them palace, you know, and pray at 2 rakat salah. Blessed place. You understand? So they said, well, no, the company. So he said, what kind of house? He said, their houses were low to the ground. Understand that it is not like it didn't have big houses in those days. In those days, had big houses. It had proper houses. But the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the house of the companions were low. Low, the roof was low to the ground. Small houses, that when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam got up to pray tahajjud, Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala, and he had to touch her on her foot. So when he was ready to go down for sajda, he touched her on her foot so she could pull her foot one side so he could go down for sajda. Understand the size of house we're talking about. Right? Understand the size of house that we're talking about. That's why there's a difference of opinion of the scholars as when does the Asr Salah begin. And you know one of the evidence that they use, Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala says that when the shadow of the sun would come in through the windows, when the shadow would start to climb the wall of the house, that was the time Asr Salah begins. So what time was that? Was that early or that was late? You understand? Some scholars say, well, it was early because the shadow already hit in the wall. Some scholars say it was late. You know why it was late? Because the houses were low. So for that shadow to reach up there, I mean, the sun had to be down a good bit. Understanding the size of the house that we are speaking about. So Haatam Assam asked, well, I really wanted to go in the Prophet ﷺ palace and pray 2 rakats, and I really wanted to go in the Sahaba palace and pray 2 rakats. You understand? So after the people told him, well, no, there were no palaces, or the Prophet ﷺ had no palace, the companions, the Sahaba, they had no palace. So then Haatam Assam looked around and he saw the buildings that he's seen, and he said, well, this can't be the city of the Rasul, this has to be the city of Pharaoh. This have to be the city of Pharaoh. Why is that seen all around me here? This had to be the city of Pharaoh. So they grab him, they carry him in front of the Qadi, the judge. Blasphemy. How could you call the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the city of Pharaoh? So he told the Qadi, he says, whoever was the Khalifa at that time, he says, be patient, listen to me, listen to me. He said, I am a non-Arab, I came and I asked, and he explained the whole story to him, right? And then after that, he read the ayat of Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, that it is in the sunnah of the Rasul, the way of life of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is a good example. And the lifestyle of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best example for you. This ayat means, the ayat of Quran means what? It means that under all circumstances, under all conditions, we should try to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Under all conditions, we should try to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So tell me, am I really in the city of Rasulullah, or am I in the city of Pharaoh? You tell me. Oh Khalif, you tell me. Couldn't a person coming from a non-Arab country, looking at the condition of the Ummah today, is it not possible for they to have the wrong deduction? That here it is, you thought you are coming, you are looking at the ulama, you are seeing something different, you are looking at the city of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you say, well, where is the Islam? Where is the Quran that I am reading? Am I not seeing it? I'm not seeing it. I'm looking at the ulama, I'm looking at the ummah in general, and I'm not seeing the Islam that I am reading in books. I am not seeing it. My dear brothers and sisters, we have to learn. We have to learn from this. You look at the Muslim world, it is in chaos and corruption. Why? Because the wealth of the ummah is in the hands of a few, and other people feel that they are being, they are not getting, they are not enjoying it. Islam does not teach us that, my dear brothers and sisters. Islam does not, and that is why there's uprising here and there's uprising there and all over the place. Why? Because everybody wants some of that wealth. For whatever reason, we could blame it on democracy, and we could blame it on monarchy rule, and all kind of, we could find any excuse. At the end of the day, what it is, we want some of the greenback. At the end of the day, that is what our goal and our aim is, to try to get as much as we could get. Whereas the real teaching in Islam, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, once a group of people came, they were from the tribe of Mudar, and they came to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he saw their condition, when he saw the tattered clothing that they had, when he looked at their physical, his face changed. The worry, you could see the worry coming on the face of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Asked Bilal to call adhan. It was close to the time of Zuhr. He prayed Zuhr Salah, and then he sat on the member and delivered khutbah, and he exhorted the people to give, spend. Spend, oh people, spend. Come and give something. So people came with different things, and they came, and people come with a little bit of this. Prophet ﷺ told them, ittaqun nar, fear the fire, walau bi shiqqi tamaratin, even if it is with a part of a date. My dear brothers and sisters, we are asked to spend. The companions, the point that I'm making, the companions who were there present, they were more or less in the same condition. They were more or less in the same condition as the people who came. They had nothing to give. They went out to the marketplace and they tote a few bags. Some people had some bags there, they wanted to move porter work. They carried some here, they carried some bags here. You have anything to do? Let me sweep up this place here. They got a little thing and they came back and they gave it to the Rasul. So when the companions of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked to spend, when they were asked to spend, they didn't say, but me, check men like Suna, if you want money. You understand? What you coming by me for? You come by me? You understand? Go by people and check the name. Sona, gold. Alhamdulillah. Right? So go by people who have money. Don't come by me, my dear. That was not the attitude of the companions of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't have. They went outside there and they found some work to do. They found something to do, whether it was toting bags, al-nuhamil, as the hadith mentioned, the word nuhamil, hamal, to carry things on their backs. They would do that type of work even so that they could get a little something, not to spend on themselves, you know. Not to spend on themselves, understand this, but to give to those who were less fortunate than them. And that was their condition. That was the type of sacrifice that was made by the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, so that Islam reached the four corners of the globe. Nowadays, when we are asked to give a little something for the masjid, we have a maktab going on, donate a little something. You know what happened? We have a barbecue to raise money, right? As the person just announced. You understand? We have to have a barbecue. You understand? We have to have a little bazaar. We have to have a little something in order to raise money. Why? Because we poor. All of we sitting down inside here. Now, every one of us house might be bigger than this masjid here. Right? Or property might be worth a little more. Right? Than where we sit in here. Every one of our houses, you understand, might be around the same size or even bigger. Right? But in order to run the affairs of this masjid here, you have to have a little barbecue or something, but everybody, you can't give for nothing. At least let me get back a little box of barbecue. You spend $20 or $30, let me get back a little something self. You understand? Then the ego inside of us, you go feel good. Yeah, well, we really give. So when you spend $20 behind and you get back $10 worth of barbecue, you really just give $10, but you're feeling good. But, you know, I buy a ticket, you know. I buy a ticket. You understand? So I can't take out $20 from my pocket and give. I cannot make a monthly commitment to my Jamaat that I could come and sit in this masjid here with good carpet. There's a good toilet for me to use. It is air conditioned. There are fans, a good PA system that I can hear what is going on. And I cannot take out $50 or $100 a month for my salary and say, here, this is towards my Jamaat because they have a lot of program going on. This is for the maktab that is going on. This is for the ladies program. This is for something. I cannot take out that from my pocket and give. Where is the spending in the ummah? Where is the spending in the ummah? Right, my dear brothers and sisters, unless and not until we could void the inside here of the love for the greenery that we're seeing outside there, we are going nowhere. We are going nowhere. Don't fool yourselves. We are going nowhere. So may Allah Azza wa Jal bless you and bless me. May He give us the guidance. May He give us the tawfiq that we could understand that ma innakum yanfad wa ma indallahi baq. That what you have and you possess, that is going to finish away. But that which is with Allah is going to last forever and forever. So may He give us that ability that we could spend what we have and deposit it in His treasury so that we would have it forever and forever. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.